you need to be recognizing the map and the countries on the map. As you can see here, we have South Sudan, we have Uganda, Ethiopia, Eritrea, Djibouti, Somalia. We have Comoros, Madagascar, Mozambique, Malawi, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. Here, Kenya and Uganda in the middle. These are the countries of East Africa. We have talked about the ecosystem or the physical features of East Africa, and we said it is very diverse. The most important physical feature is the Great Rift Valley. It's the most or the unusual feature of East Africa's physical geography. We said that the Great Rift Valley started to form 20 million years ago when tectonic plates started to tear from one another. So Africa was one whole tectonic plate. Then they started to tear from one another. Africa was connected to the Arabian Peninsula. Then as the two rifts apart or separated from one another, the land in between them sank and was filled by the Red Sea. So eventually all of East Africa will separate from the rest of Africa and the Red Sea will fill the rift. So, and my question for the online students especially, what's the most important physical feature in East Africa? Raise hands, please. The most important physical feature in East Africa. I have Maya. Okay, Maya, go ahead.
The Great Rift Valley.
Yes, it is the Great Rift Valley. East Africa was only on one.
Miss, I can't hear you.
Yes, ya Maya? East Africa was was only on one tectonic plate. Then the tectonic plate started to tear from one another, Then after that, it was connected to the Arabian Peninsula. It started to tear from one part, and the Red Sea was filled. So the Red Sea now separates between East Africa and the rest of Africa. We have the Great Rift Valley, which is a very important physical feature of East Africa. We need to state facts about it. It is about 4,000 miles long. It's about 4,000 miles long, and it is from 30 to 40 miles wide. Its eastern branch start or extend in Tanzania and Kenya, and the western branches from Lake Malawi to south through Uganda in the north. We said that.
City.
Yes.
When will you upload this PowerPoint?
Today, inshallah.
Okay, I understand.
We know that we have a volcanic activity that happens on the branches of the Great Valley, but the largest volcanoes are located on the eastern rift. And we said that volcanoes include the Kilimanjaro mountain between Kenya and Tanzania. We said that the Kilimanjaro is the tallest mountain in Africa. Although it is the tallest mountain and it is in Africa, its summit is covered with snow. Why? Although it's near the equator. Anyone can tell me why it is covered with snow, although it's near the equator? Rashwan.
Because it's so high and it has a steep at the top.
Mm-hmm. So it's because of its elevation above the sea level. It is very high. That's why the higher you go, the colder it is. Although it's near the equator, its summit is covered with snow. Thank you, Rashwan. Let's move to another features. Different countries of East Africa has different features. For example, in Sudan, We have plains and plateaus in the north, in the terrain desert. In Somalia, it is extremely dry, and we have the savannas and the semi-desert. In Djibouti, we have rugged mountains and also desert. South Sudan, we have the most important mountains also, the Rwenzori Mountains, which divide Uganda from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Also, we have Rwanda, Yusuf, which is called the land of southern hills. Okay, Yusuf, Kandur?
Yes, yes.
You remember Rwanda is called the land of?
Thousand Hills. Yes.
Thousand hills. Let's move back to the bodies of water. Of course, you know that we have the River Nile. River Nile is the longest river in the world. And we have the countries which include many countries of East Africa also. We have Tanzania, the 10 countries that we've talked about in North Africa. Tanzania, Burundi, Rwanda, Kenya, Uganda, Ethiopia, South Sudan, and the Sudan. It has two sets of headwater. The Nile River is coming from two different Niles, the Blue Nile and the White Nile. The Blue Nile will begin in Ethiopia, and the White Nile should begin in Lake Victoria. And it passes through swampy and wetlands in central Sudan, and this huge area is called the Sod. So what's called the Sod? The wetlands in central South Sudan. What's called the Sod? The wetlands in central South Sudan. Why it's called the Sod? Because the Nile begins in Lake Victoria and passes through these wetlands. The two branches of the Nile at the end meet in Khartoum, then they flow north to the Mediterranean Sea. So it flows in the Mediterranean Sea. The Nile River started south and it goes all past all the way to the north, and it flows in the Mediterranean Sea. Many lakes also are located near the Great Rift Valley. The largest one is Lake Victoria, and we have said two facts about the Lake Victoria. It is shallow. It contains 200 species of fish. We have also Lake Tanganyika, the longest freshwater lake in the world. We have Lake Malawi, the second deepest lake. So we have three different lakes. We have Lake Victoria, Lake Tanganyika, and Lake Malawi. Lake Victoria, shallow and has 200 species of fish. Lake Tanganyika, the longest freshwater lake. Lake Malawi, the second deepest. Here there is a comparison between the major lakes of Africa and their bordering countries. So when I ask you to compare between the three different lakes in East Africa, you need to use this table. You're going to be comparing between Victoria, Tanganyika, and Malawi. You mention features, their physical features. For example, in Lake Victoria, shallow, 200 kind of fish. Lake Tanganyika, the biggest freshwater lake. Lake Malawi, the second deepest. And you said the countries that boards all of these lakes: Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda for Victoria. We have Tanganyika, which boards bordered by Tanzania, Democratic Republic of Congo, and we have Lake Malawi, which is bordered by Tanzania, Malawi, and Mozambique. Up till now, you need to ask about anything?
No.
So I can ask. In East Africa, we have different features. We have physical, landform, and we have bodies of water. What are the most important physical features of East Africa? Please raise hands. Raise hands.
Miss, can you repeat the question?
The question is, what are the most important physical features of East Africa? Landform. I'm talking about the landform.
What's my answer?
Yes, yeah. Kinsey, go ahead.
First thing, the Sudan is a home for the physical plain and plateau in north. The trade train is desert.
Yeah, the tree train desert.
and Somalia on east is so extremely dry.
Yes. And the most important one is the
Great Valley.
Rift Valley. Thank you.
I don't remember.
Great Rift Valley. What about the bodies of water? What are the most important bodies of water of East Africa?
Miss, can I say or you choose another one?
No, I need another one. Huh? Hannah Hamdi, go ahead.
Lake Victoria.
Lake Victoria, thank you. Yes.
Nile River.
Yes, yes. The Nile River is one of the bodies of water.
Okay. And Lake Tanganyika and Lake Malawi.
Thank you very much, Hannah. Lake Tanganyika and Lake Malawi. Let's back continue with the rest of our lesson. So after we have covered all the physical features, we need to know about the climate of East Africa. Because as you know, from knowing the physical feature, you will be having an idea about the climate. We have different or diverse also climate in East Africa. For example, in Sudan, Djibouti, Somalia, we have the Kilimanjaro and Rwenzori range, which will give us what? High temperature much of the year, and also we'll have glaciers. But glaciers are now melting because of the climate change or the problems of climate change, such as the global warming. Also, we have the highland of Kenya and Uganda. It has the climate of spring. Most of the year, they are spring-like climate. We have also near the equator, seasonal rainfall, wet season and dry season. This is near the equator. Also on the tropical grassland of Kenya, we have 2 rainy seasons. Long rains in April and May, short rains in October and November, but the periods in between have dry seasons with little or no rain. So as you can see from the table, because I will ask you to compare also between different types of climate in East Africa, you will find a variety of climate of East Africa. It differs between the high temperature most of the year in Sahara or the places with Sahara or deserts. You will have glaciers on the mountains like Kilimanjaro and Rwenzori ranges. You will also be having a spring-like climate in highland of Uganda and Kenya. You will have the wet and dry seasons near the equator. And at the end, on the tropical grassland of Kenya, you will be having 2 rainy seasons. It differs between dry seasons also and rainy seasons. You need to memorize this table when I ask you to compare between the different types of climate in East Africa. But why do we have diverse in climate? This is because of the physical features. You'll find the places with desert will have dry climate and also rain. You will have the places with highlands will have like, it's not very hot, it's spring-like climate. Places near the equator will have dry seasons and wet seasons. This is the variety because of the variety of the physical features. We have a very important problem in East Africa, which is called desertification. Desertification, we have discussed it in the class. What's meant by desertification? Who can tell me? Kinsey?
Is the processes by each agricultural land turned into a desert.
Yes, it's actually the process in which the agricultural land turns into a desert. Why does it happen? It occurs or it happens when long period of drought, when there is no rain or the unwise land destroy vegetation. When we are destroying or we are using the land in an unwise way, this has happened. Desertification has affected much of the Sahel. The most important place that suffer from this problem is the Sahel. It lies between the Sahara and the countries of South, such as Sudan and South Sudan. So you'll find this desertification problem actually happens in between Sahel, in between the Sahara and the countries of South Sudan and the Sudan. The last thing is to talk about the natural resources in East Africa. Of course, we have a variety of resources because also a variety of physical features. So we will be talking about in Kenya and Tanzania and Uganda, we have the gold deposits. In Tanzania also you can find gemstones with diamonds. In Rwanda, you can find 10 deposits. In Lake Assal on Djibouti, it is the largest salt reserve. In Ethiopia and Uganda, you'll find lumber. These are mostly the natural resources, which are naturally found. When you mine, you'll find them. Gold deposits, diamonds, tin, lumber, and also you find the largest salt reserve in Lake Assal and Djibouti. What about the energy resources? Of course, because also of the variety or the diversity of the physical features, you'll find a variety of energy resources such as coal, petroleum, but the most important two types of energy that are found in East Africa nowadays is the hydroelectric power and the geothermal energy. In Tanzania, we have the coal. In Uganda, we have the petroleum. But hydroelectric power of electricity produced from water, from falling water, is now very famous in Kenya and Tanzania, and it is developing in Sudan. طبعا you know that the hydroelectric power comes from the dams in front of the Niles, and it is the power coming from falling water. Also, because it's very hot in Africa, you'll find the geothermal energy, which comes from the heat inside Earth. Such as hot springs and streams. Actually, the country of Kenya has 30% of their energy is coming from the geothermal power or energy. The last thing you need to know about is that East Africa land and wildlife are important tourist resources. Yes, because they have many national parks. They are known, the best known reserves for animals are in Kenya and Tanzania. These parks are home for lions, leopards, cheetahs, giraffes, zebras, elephants, dozens of species of animals. And every year, all the world witness the great migration of 1 million animals that travel hundreds of miles in search of fresh grazing land. That's all about the East Africa. Anyone wants to ask any question before I end the session?
No, thank you.
Okay, I will upload the PowerPoint. I will upload the worksheet, and you need to go through the worksheet, finish it, send it to me maximum by Sunday. You have my email in the weekly plan. Inshallah, we'll see you back next week. Let's see you, bye. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact me.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.